Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert here from the Business Awards Show, and I'm also the founder of the Best Business Women Awards. And today we're going to be talking all things networking. Great topic. It is the bedrock of many a business. So today I'm joined by an expert in networking and author of Business Networking for Dummies, Stefan Thomas. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm flattered to be invited on. I really am.
So we're going to be talking about sponsoring business awards with you today, because you've decided to sponsor the Best Business Women Awards this year, the Best Networking Group category. So today we're going to talk a little bit about your business and then your thought process behind that. And hopefully as well, we're going to squeeze some networking tips out of you as well, I'm hoping. So, Stefan, what we always start our show off with is a bit of a background as to what brought you to your business today. And I know you've got, quite a mixed history in your working life. So tell me a bit about why are you talking to people about networking? Let's go through that. Go back and tell me what's happened.
No, it's a really good question because there are people who've been networking for longer than me, and I speak about networking at events a lot, so I always answer this right up front. Why is it me stood in front of you? I am the author of Business Networking for Dummies, but that came as a result of me getting good at networking along the way, I guess. My career started in 1983 when I started working in a shoe shop, and I was taught how to build rapport with people. We had 20 minutes from when someone walked in pretty much to when they would buy a pair of shoes. And it was our job as the sales assistants to build the rapport to the extent that we could upsell, that we could offer people Scotchgard or whatever it happened to be, and they would buy it. 1988, I got a job as an estate agent, and did that for almost 20 years. And again, the process was the same. When we went to value someone's house, we had about an hour to build rapport so that they would choose us to sell their house. That was the purpose of us being there. And then when I started networking as an estate agent first, I started to realize that the process was similar. We started talking about know, like, and trust, or meet, like, know, trust. That process where you've met someone, where you give them the information, you allow them to find out about you so that they can decide whether they like and trust you enough to refer business to you or enough to do business with you. And the process is the same. It's rapport building, just like we talked about in the shoe shop, the estate agency. That meet, like, know, trust is that process which we all go through after we've met someone, where when we get to know them and decide whether we like them, decide whether we trust them. And so when I launched my own business, 2007, and had to make networking work, had to start making sales from it, I realized that I had all of this heritage to lean back on, that I was naturally or through practice able to build rapport with people, and for people to decide whether or not they trusted me. And for those that did, I could introduce the services that I offered, and people would quite often buy from me. So that's yeah, a very, very potted history from 1983 to now. And I've just realized, I mean, we're 2024 now, aren't we? So yeah, last year, 2023 was the 40th anniversary of me starting work then. So yeah, that's yeah, I've been doing this for talking to people for quite a long time, it seems.
I know. Do you know, I realised the other day I left school in 1984 when I was 16. So that is 40 years ago this year. That's quite shocking, isn't it? You're thinking, oh, gosh, where's 40 years gone?
Where's the time gone? Yeah,
I don't know. So you transitioned from your no red braces business into this networking kind of, I think you've got sort of quite a smorgasbord of products, really. So you've got the book, and you speak about networking, and you run your own networking group,
yeah.
and you also run the networking retreat.
Yeah.
and you've got Connect Live in September. So there's quite a lot going on. So you made that transition. What made you choose to go down that path?
Like a lot of things in life, I don't think I chose it. I was running a small business which I was representing at networking events and making a name for myself more about the fact that I knew how to make networking work.
Mm.
I got a bit of a gift in 2008, actually, when social media first came onto the scene. I joined Twitter quite early on. I joined Twitter in 2008, realized that that was an extension of our networking activity. And so people started asking me to talk about it, to talk about networking, how I was making sales out of networking, to talk about social media, how I was joining my networking up with social media. So I started speaking at the networking events that I was running at the time. Then some business shows started asking me to speak. And I started speaking at regional business shows. At some point, you kindly invited me to speak at one of your shows,
Yeah, I did.
at or around Watford
2016, I
Elstree.
think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm.
So, and then someone asked me to write business networking for dummies after I'd spoken at a business event in London. And then someone said, how much would you charge to come and speak at our conference? So I think I always feel a lot of things in my life have happened by accident.
Mm.
And it really happened because other people asked me to show them how to network better.
Mm.
And then a few years later, that had become the business, and I had become someone who talked about networking rather than someone who talked about other things. And that's where it all came from, really. These days, I speak for some quite big organizations and train them in networking skills, but it all came from the fact that I, yeah, I was probably better at the networking side than I was at the original business, and that's how it all came about like that.
So would you recommend then that people really try and push themselves forward with networking groups and get those speaking opportunities?
Yeah, I think for anyone who wants speaking opportunities, you've got them.
Mm.
Networking events are looking for speakers. It's really interesting to me that I spotted that opportunity that I could speak at networking events all over the UK. Not everyone saw the opportunity the same as me. The other thing was that I was able to use networking events as a really good rehearsal, a really good place to try new material when I was speaking in an incredibly safe environment. I would also recommend, I know that you and I talk about networking primarily in terms of small business, but employees of organizations should also learn those networking skills, as
Mm.
that can massively help their career as well. So I think just networking just has a ton of value, no matter what you do for a living, really.
Yes, it's not always about the cooked breakfasts and the nice swanky lunches, is it? It's about a lot more than that. So when people are going along to a networking event for the very first time, what sort of things should they be preparing before they go?
If I were in their shoes, I would prepare a 60-second or 40-second introduction. The organizers should have told you in advance what you're going to be expected to do, but I would have an introduction ready to go. I would also have, and I know you help people with this, Debbie, I would also make absolutely sure that my LinkedIn profile was
Mm.
complete and up to date, because the people who've met you at the networking event are then going to check you out on LinkedIn afterwards. So yes, I would have my 60 seconds ready, be ready to answer the question, what do you do? Because people are going to ask you that, and you're going to need to be able to answer succinctly. I would make sure my LinkedIn profile was up to date, and particularly certainly in 2024, I would be carrying my diary around with me. Mine's on my phone, it's easy.
Mm.
But whatever your diary is, have it with you so that if you get into conversation with someone at the networking event and there's more of a conversation to be had, that you're able to say to them, look, have you got some time later on in the week for us to have a one-to-one conversation? So yeah, those are the things that I would prepare.
This is a hotly debated topic. Business cards or no business cards?
Yeah, I've got some printers. I've got some printers who are clients, so this is a difficult one. But look, in 2024, I don't carry business cards anymore. I
Okay.
I use the technology that I'm carrying around with me to connect with people on LinkedIn whilst we're having a conversation. That feels to me like the post-pandemic version of a business card.
Mm.
I haven't carried business cards for a little while now, um, but I understand that some people are still very attached to them. I understand that my printer clients are all emailing me now as we speak. What on earth are you talking about, Steph? And actually, I know this is going out primarily in the UK, but culturally, business cards mean a lot more
Mm.
in other countries as well. Personally, I carry a mobile phone with LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram on it. I don't carry business cards anymore.
No, I think that's well, it's a bit more eco-friendly. Sorry for the printers out there, but it is a little bit more eco-friendly. So somebody's been along to a networking event and they've gathered lots of connections. What should they do after that event? What should be the number one thing they do when they get back to the office?
The number one thing that they do should not be to try and sell to all of those people. Now, if there are a couple of people who've said, "Oh yeah, we're interested," then by all means send them a message trying to get to the next step. And the next step is probably a one-to-one conversation. With all of the other people where there's been no real conversation about what your services are, or whether they should buy from you, I would connect with them on their preferred platform. Most business people are comfortable with LinkedIn. Some are comfortable with Facebook. Some are comfortable with Instagram. I would check with people where they want to be connected with, connect with them, and then keep in touch. I leave time at the end of every networking event that I go to so that I can make those connections with people, and that I can send them a really quick message saying, "Hey, Debbie, it was great to meet you this morning. Let's keep in touch." Anyone who sends a message saying, "Hey, Debbie, it was great to meet this morning, and here's 800 words about the services we offer," it is probably shutting down the relationship before it's had chance to start. If someone said, "Oh, great, I would be interested in what you do. Can you let me know more about it?" Respond to that, but don't try and ram it down people's throats. You've got so much time. The networking event is just the start of the conversation. You've got so much time afterwards to continue the conversation. You don't have to try and force it all at first.
Exactly. You wouldn't propose to someone on a first date, would you?
No, I'm just trying to remember whether I did it. I didn't do quite that with Sharon. Not quite there, but
I always say to people, business relationships are like any relationships in your life. When you meet people for the first time, if you come on too strong, they're going to be quite freaked out about that. So it's about building things up gently. Um, let's talk about the best networking group. What makes a great networking group, Stefan? What are the ingredients?
so the main ingredients of a great networking group are the members, and the culture of a great networking group is set by the leader of that networking group. And that can be whether it's an independently owned networking group, or whether it is a branch, group, chapter of a large networking organization. It really is the person or team who are in charge locally who will set the tone, set the ethos, set the culture for whether that would be a great networking group. And that culture does start with the top, because it starts by the leaders of the group looking out for the members, and then that will engender a culture where the members look out for each other. And when that starts to happen, when you've created a group that is truly mutually supportive, that's when the real magic comes. When the leader is doing that thing, when they're saying, hey, Steve, you're here for the first time. I'm going to introduce you to Debbie because you do this and she does this, and I think there's some real synergy. So let's make that connection with you. And then the members tend to follow suit. When the members start thinking like that, I've been talking to this person today. There's absolutely no business in there for me, but they really should meet. I'm going to use Steve again. They really should meet Steve. That's when the magic starts to happen, when people start to look out for each other. And then you create this amazing internal economy where where all members of the community are starting to look out for each other and pass business around and look for opportunities for other people, as well as getting to know the other members well enough to do business with them themselves. And that internal economy then starts to grow.
Mm. So another hotly debate topic around networking is to go with a professional lockout group or an open group. What's your thoughts on that?
It's preference, really. I mean, I know so many people who are really big fans of the professional lockout, where there's only one accountant in the room, one solicitor, and so on. And I know lots and lots of people who are fans of having a completely open group. And I can see benefits in both of them. For me, I've always preferred open groups. That's always been my preference. Google exists these days. It is much easier for people to find other suppliers that aren't you. I think there's an ever such a slight danger with closed groups, and that is that the world isn't closed in 2024, that you are in competition with other people, and something to really think about, particularly for those of us who provide anything like marketing services, is that you're in competition with people who don't do the same as you. Someone might have a budget to spend on marketing, in inverted commas. They may choose to go with a business coach who can help them to sell more. They may choose to go with someone who provides email marketing or video marketing. So the idea that you're not in competition with people just because there's only one of you in the room is false in 2024 for all sorts of reasons. I personally prefer open groups. I know tons of people that like closed groups, and indeed the largest networking group in the world is a closed group. So there must be quite a lot of people who prefer that way of doing things as well.
Well, the other topic that is also widely debated is female-only groups versus mixed groups. And I wondered what your thoughts were on that.
I was wondering whether this would come up because we're talking about the Best Business Women Awards, and every time we have International Women's Day, someone thinks they're being clever on Twitter, says, when's International Men's Day? Well, it's in November. I can't even remember the date. It's just not that important. But it's in November. So I can completely understand why people would say, why do we need to have segregation? But the truth is that there does need to be some, what's the word that's been used in the past? Positive discrimination. When I first started going networking, it was 80 or 90% men in suits. And that's only 2006, 2007-ish. So the world of the female entrepreneur needs to have space to catch up. They've been excluded to a greater degree. I'm not sure if I should even say that, but it's true that a lot of networking groups were, what's the word I'm looking for? The majority of people in the room was male. And before we had groups set up called networking groups, of course, there was Roundtable and Freemasons and Rotary, which was originally male only. All of these male only groups did exist before. So female only networking groups and female only business groups are only doing what we used to do anyway. I completely like the space as well to give female entrepreneurs somewhere that they feel safe to network. Don't know if I've ever told you this. I spoke at a female-only networking event in the City of London probably 10 years ago now. And I always ask the question, what's your biggest challenge with networking? And people say, oh, I don't like the 60 seconds, or I don't know how to get referrals. When I asked it to a female-only networking group in the City of London, I said, what's your biggest challenge when they go out networking? They said, how do we stop getting hit on when we go to evening mixed? Completely bowled me over, because as a white male, I don't know some of the issues that other people come across. I hadn't even considered that might be a thing. So I think a lot of women feel safe in that female only networking space that they're not going to get hit on, because apparently that is a thing and it does happen. And yeah, I think the Best Business Women Awards champion the best of the female entrepreneurs that are out there as well. And I like that. I'm very, very, very inclusive and always have been. Around the time when you and I first met, I was very convinced that when I launched my networking group in Whitney, that it should be inclusive, that we should have, broadly speaking, a 50-50 split of male female, that we should be as inclusive and as diverse as is possible in a small market town in Oxfordshire. I think that things like the Best Business Women Awards do give female entrepreneurs that space. That turned into a bit of a rant, but it is something that inclusivity is so important, and sometimes we have to give other groups that aren't male the space to have groups that are specifically for them, so that in the future everything will be more inclusive.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're on a journey here. I mean, certainly when I started networking back in 2000, I was in a BNI group and I was one of 3 women. Why was that? It was 6:30 in the morning. The second reason is at that time, there were not that many women running their own business. I think the advent of the internet and social media, and everything becoming more accessible now, you know, where the way mobile phones have gone as well, we can do so much more. And more women have set up businesses now than ever before. And certainly when I set up the Best Business Women Awards 10 years ago, that was set up on the basis that I'd sat at 3 award ceremonies over the course of about a year, and luckily enough to win a couple of those awards. But again, being one of only a handful of females on the stage, mostly it was men. And then when I spoke to females about why are you not entering awards, they were like, oh, you know, I don't feel good enough. And, you know, there was this sense of imposter syndrome with women that I'm not sure that men suffer with that in the same way. Do you think?
Yeah, not in the same way, but I think we do. I probably play on it a bit these days, but certainly one of my first experiences of networking, I wasn't wearing a tie. I'd stopped wearing a tie towards the end of my estate agency journey, but I was still wearing a suit, just with an open neck shirt. And someone looked me up and down and said, "Oh, I didn't realize it was Dress Down Friday." And it's like, why? So I think at the time when I started going networking, and I'm 54 now, so I appreciate the irony in this. The 50-something-year-old men in suits were quite protective of their environment, and you've just hit on a subject that I'd thought of in the past, but of course I'm a man, so I didn't completely see the relevance in it. So many networking groups were organized around school run time, so they were completely prohibitive for a lot of female entrepreneurs to get there anyway, who also had to do the school run. I know we're in a much more egalitarian society now, but it still ain't perfect. And I think the school run thing was a thing as well.
It was a huge barrier, which is why the 2 women that set up the Women in Business Network, which was really the first female-only networking group in 2004, and I've been a member of that organisation for many years, and it's absolutely amazing. They met at BNI, and they set it up to identify that need, to fill the need that 12 o'clock was actually a really good time for female entrepreneurs to go to a networking event, 12 till 2. And then I set up Business Women Unlimited back in 2011, for a 9:30 a.m. start, which at that point there wasn't any groups at 9:30 in the morning. It was either lunchtime or early morning. And there was still a huge number of women that potentially were putting their children into nursery school for the morning, and therefore they couldn't do a lunchtime at 12 o'clock. So the 9:30 a.m. has become a thing, and it's great to see, you know, networking groups like BNI who now do a 9:30 a.m. There's now lots of evening networking, and obviously online has changed networking beyond, you know, all recognition, because we can network morning, noon, and night wherever we want in the world, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's been In the last 4 years or so, since lockdown happened and we all started getting used to Zoom, I've attended networking events in Canada, in North America, in India, plenty in New South Wales, Sydney and Melbourne particularly. It's been really simple for us to network with different communities, and long may that continue as well. This world is here to stay. It's interesting. Interesting to me. There's a video that's just popped up on my memories that I did 4 years ago saying, what we're talking about as the new normal is going to be normal now. It's not going to be that we all start using Zoom and then we all stop once the world goes back to something like normality. And I'm quite refreshed that I hit that one right, that actually we have all continued doing this. We're talking on Zoom right now, and that really has become what's normal now, and we can network with people all over. I've had meetings today with people in Oxfordshire, Gloucestershire, Nottinghamshire. Then I've run a networking session with people from all over the country, including Glasgow and Bristol and Somerset and so on. And 4 years ago, that there would have been a lot of driving today. 5 years ago, maybe, and yeah, I've done all of this from here. So the world really has opened up, and people can take advantage of that and network at times of day and in territories which suit them.
That's right. So that brings us on to sponsoring the Best Networking Group. So what was the thought process behind coming on board the Best Business Women Awards this year?
Networking has been so good to me. I've put a lot of effort into it, but networking has been the thing which saved my mental health, saved my life, probably saved my business on more than one occasion, given me people that I can phone up if I'm having a rubbish day, and of course I've built a business on the back of it. So networking has given so much back to me, and therefore the opportunity to sponsor and be in touch with really good people who are running networking events, because I'll promise you something, they aren't making enough money out of it for the effort that they're putting into it. Very often people are doing it for really charitable reasons themselves. The people that I know that run networking events really do care about their members. And so why wouldn't I sponsor it is the answer to that. Yeah, of course, I talk about networking a lot. I enjoy talking about networking, but I absolutely love to be in touch with the people who are the networking leaders, particularly around the UK. And this will give me another opportunity to meet some of those folk as well. So plus, I came to your awards last year. It's an absolute thrill to be at your awards. I picked up a bit of business at your awards. I wasn't expecting that, but we had a really brilliant time as well. I think Sharon and I were there until pretty late. We were one of the last to leave. And it was just really good fun. So why wouldn't I be there again as well?
Oh, that's great. I'm looking forward to it. So let's finish off with you've given so many networking tips today. So let's finish off with a business tip. So somebody's listening to this and they're in there maybe the first couple of years of running their business. What's the tip that you would give them? You can only give them one. What would you say?
When I worked in the shoe shop, the process was really simple, that people would leave via the till. When I went in, I can't remember whether it was B&M or HomeSense or something like that last week with Sharon, you couldn't leave the shop without going past the till. Too many small business owners get a bit shy of showing people where the till is. My tip would be that after everything else that you've done, the marketing and the social media and going to networking events, you do have to say to people, would you like to go ahead then? Shall we get on with this? Shall I send you over a contract? Show them where the till is. Remember that for your business to be a business, people do have to transact with you at the end of the conversation. At least some of the people you talk to do have to buy from you. Don't be afraid to show people where the till is and actually introduce them to the concept of buying something from you. at the same time as you've put all of the effort into building the relationships. So it's a subtle distinction between going in too heavy at first and waiting until the right moment. But when the moment's right, remember that in order to be in business, you need to make sales. Remember to lead people past the till on the way out.
Oh, that's a great tip. And I'm going to let you talk about your event in September. So what's the
Thank you.
date and where is it?
Connect event live September the 18th, 2024. It's a national event. So I've got people already booked in from Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, all points of England actually coming to it. We're going to have 120 business owners there. We're holding it here in Oxfordshire. We're holding it in Chipping Norton. Some amazing speakers, a load of amazing people coming. As well as learning from the speakers, I will personally be facilitating the networking on the day to make sure that people meet the right businesses for them. And connecteventlive.co.uk. That's where all of the information is.
Wow, I'm really excited about it, actually. I do love a big networking event, especially one I haven't had to organise.
No, it's going to be really good fun as well.
And I think Oxford's a great, the Oxfordshire area, Chipping Norton. I mean, it's a quite a centralised location in the country, so it makes it accessible for people, really, which is great. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you for joining me today and sharing some great tips about networking. We will share Stefan's details in the show notes, and if you're watching the video on YouTube, we will pop the details in the comments on YouTube as well. We'll see you at the final as well, Stefan, in October, when we will be rewarding those amazing networking group organisers. So that will be very, very exciting. And Stefan will be presenting the award to the best networking group and all the silver winners as well. So look forward to that.
We'll be wearing a suit.
I'll be
dressed up for an evening event. So yeah, it's a rare occasion these days. I'm really looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining me today. And if you're listening to the podcast, please do leave a review and let us know what you think of the podcast. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, you've won an award, sponsored award, or you organise your own awards, get in touch. We'd love to have you on the show. Take care.